As a creative aspect, TV is one of the best things that we do as a species. Along with music and film and books, they bring out the best creative of all of us. They entertain and they bring so much joy to many. They invoke emotion and enable us to feel things that we bury sometimes deep down. That's what this podcast is for. Welcome to A Million Little TV Shows. This is what I call the breakdown while I break down. Each week I will go through a different TV show, a different season of that TV show, and different episodes of that show. And I will break down not only emotions, but I will break down stories from my life, and let you know why these TV shows mean so much to me, and why I believe that they are some of the most important shows out there. This podcast is here to highlight a lot of smaller TV shows, or TV shows that don't really get a platform, because we know of a bunch of TV shows that get a multitude of different podcasts. Ted Lasso, Game of Thrones, The Office, they've all got several podcasts out there analysing all types of different things. But there's not many out there for the little guy, and that's what I'm trying to highlight. So each week I will go through a different show, different seasons, different episodes, and I will go across all different kinds of genres and different countries to bring you what I believe is some of the best TV out there. So I'm glad you're here with me. I'm glad you're here for this journey. And if you've watched the shows before and you wanted to come here and get an analysis on them and have someone go through them and pick out bits that you might have enjoyed, then I'm glad you are here. If, however, you have never watched the show and you just want to come and have someone talk in your ear about different TV shows, I'm glad you are here. But I hope that it inspires some people to go and seek out these TV shows. They deserve to be watched. They were made with love and care, and they are the same as this podcast, made with love and care. I am your host, Mike, and I will take you through every adventure, every horror, every piece of drama, and I hope that you enjoy the show. Hello there, and welcome back to this A Million Little TV Shows podcast. This is now episode 4 of season 13, and today, as you know the pattern already, we're going to be going back into the world of physical, and this has been a really good show so far, but really quite dark in some of its storytelling. I'm still kind of getting used to the way that Rose Byrne portrays this character. As good as the show is, I just find that her performance can be a little bit grating, but maybe that is just how the character has been written. Hopefully it is due to the fact that the actress is so good at what she's doing that we get some sort of redemption arc coming along, because, well, for the first 3 episodes, she's been vile to herself and vile to everyone else around her, and that's all I can imagine that this is going to be, some sort of redemption story. Like I said, I didn't watch the 3rd season because I wanted to do it on the podcast, and therefore going through the first 2 seasons is going to be interesting. Not knowing exactly what the end is, and having to pivot my way around what the story is, because, well, it's been 3-4 years since I've watched this show now, so I've forgotten a lot of what happened in it. For instance, I totally forgot about the fact that the storyline was so dark, that she is very down on herself, but down on everyone else around her, and of course the bulimia angle is, well, saddening to say the least, because back then in the 80s, there wouldn't have been a lot of help for people like that. However, we're getting into the episodes, so let's do that. This is Physical, Season 1, Episodes 4 to 7. Episode 4, let's get this party started. So, Sheila is having her first day with Greta. She's going to be training her and she's going to be going over to the house. However, Danny is in the middle of trying to campaign, or at least try and get funds from rich people that he knows. So he's ringing around and just trying to get hold of people. But they've got a kid as well, and Sheila needs him to be looking after her because she's not been feeling well. Danny, however, is utterly selfish and just trying to do things his own way. He doesn't want any responsibility of being a father, even though he is one. Sheila rushes over to Greta, and when she finds her there, Greta is still in, well, housewear or like nightwear. Sheila is ready to go, ready to get her up and dancing, and Greta just doesn't want to. She said that the morning has depressed her, and she's woken up about 4 a.m, and, well, all she ended up doing was baking some cookies and then eating them. Sheila, of course, says, well, of course you fucking did. but also knows that if it had been her feeling that way, she would have done exactly the same thing. The only thing that is really motivating Sheila right now is this newfound obsession with aerobics, and, well, it seems to be taking over her whole life, which has got to be better than the bulimia that she's been battling, but, well, we'll see how that gets on in the episode. And so after trying to inspire Greta just says, I'm done. I can't do this. And before Sheila leaves the house, she spies a big camcorder that Greta's husband has bought. He's also bought a load of other tech goods, and she thinks, well, he's not going to miss this. She grabs it, she takes the case, and she runs. However, outside, she ends up meeting up with Ernie, Greta's husband, and he tells her they've got a big do coming up, and, well, she's very much invited, and so is Danny. Maybe her and Danny could come along and start actually campaigning, getting some more money. Sheila thinks this is a great idea, but, of course, when she goes and tells Danny about it, he's not too fussed. He has also started hanging out with his old friend Jerry Goldman, and Danny wants him to become his campaign manager. Now, Sheila isn't too happy about this guy because, well, he's just a bit of a waste. He's a bit of a stoner, and she's kind of like, well, why would you have someone who's going to, well, be a disaster to your campaign? But it's up to Danny who he picks. Sheila also suggests to Danny about maybe they can get Tyler on board and he can shoot some environmental video for him, and hopefully that will help sway people when it comes to voting. Again, at this point, Danny is more bothered about what Jerry is doing, and, well, any suggestion coming from his wife he's very dismissive of. But of course, Tyler is all up for this. He wants to do it. He wants to start shooting the video, and, well, Sheila has to keep keeping him at arm's length because, well, Danny hasn't agreed to anything yet. Sheila ends up going over to this party, hosted by Greta and Ernie. However, Greta admits to why she's been so depressed lately. She thinks that her husband is having an affair, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. She thinks that possibly someone at this party is the one that he's having the affair with. So she's a little bit distressed by this. This would also cause the overeating and the amount of stress that she's putting on herself. Sheila, of course, doesn't want to think about what Greta is going through. She only wants to think about herself and what she can gain from this. But while they're all waiting on Danny, Sheila is going around and she is shaking hands and getting to know people, and hopefully they're going to end up giving to her campaign. Eventually, as the night goes on, she realises Danny isn't going to be coming. Turns out that Danny has ended up meeting up with Simone, and Jerry was also there, and they've ended up going down to the beach and getting high. Danny has ended up getting so off his face that when Sheila turns up back home, he's basically in a poncho with an erection. Now, I'm not sure if it's meant to be there, but you can kind of see that as he's laid down, there is something sticking up. At that point, he'd just been out there with Simone. Don't forget, she is a student at the university that he used to teach at, not one that he has taught before, but it's kind of a grey area for him, and so he is quite clearly attracted to her. Now, we knew this from the first episode when he was trying to sleep with both Sheila and Simone together, but yeah, he hasn't changed his ways. Sheila, however, is pissed at him. She's had to go around all night shaking hands and getting to know these people and trying to convince them to give her money. The next morning, Sheila once again is looking after her daughter. But as with any mum, she is rushing around, she's doing stuff, she's trying to get the kid ready for school, she's trying to make sure that Danny is fed as well, and of course now she's looking after Jerry because Jerry is still there. So she's running all over the place trying to get things sorted, and she just kind of gets pissed off with it all. She says now that Danny is basically at home all the time, he can look after his own daughter. She tells him that she's going out, and when she actually goes to see Tyler, he tells her, "Are we all ready to start shooting this video?" But Sheila hands him the camera that she stole from Greta's house and tells him we're doing a totally different video. And so this could only be the aerobics video that she's wanted to shoot all along. Episode 5, Agreed to Disagree. So, now that Sheila has decided to make this move, and she's got Tyler on board, she has to convince Bunny about this. She starts kind of marketing it to her, and basically saying, look, we could have like leotards on with Bodies by Bunny, for instance, right there, so that everyone can see it, and everyone will know who is in charge and where to come. And Sheila tells her, look, as soon as we can get these videos out there, people who are a bit body conscious can start working out at home, instead of having to come down here and it be a whole thing for them. they can do this in their own home, feel better about themselves, and of course pay us a bit while they're doing it. Bunny tells her, look, if they're not coming to the class, then I'm not getting paid. She doesn't see the opportunity here because, well, it's something that's a little bit risky. New technology and new ways of doing things aren't always successful, but sometimes they can be. And in this case, there's a good chance of it being successful. But Bunny needs more convincing. Sheila realises that if the mountain isn't going to come to Mohammed, Mohammed is going to have to go to the mountain. And so she decides to set something up. Her and Tyler are going to film some segments and going to splice them together. And then hopefully once Bunny sees this, it's going to entice her to actually do something more. But of course, Sheila's actions are going to start having consequences, because when she ends up going over to see Greta to ask if they can look after her daughter for a while, the house is in a little bit of chaos. Greta tells her, look, we can't really look after her right now because, well, Ernie's on the warpath. He thinks that the nanny has actually stolen his camcorder, which of course we know that Sheila was the one who's done that. So he's not too happy at the minute, and Sheila decides that she's just going to take her kid to the beach. That's where they're going to be doing the filming, and she can't see any issues with that. Of course, as soon as they start filming, well, it's going to get fucked up, because the kid just wants to go here, there, and everywhere. They want an ice cream, they want to play, they want to do whatever. And Sheila is just trying to get this thing on tape so that she can prove to Bunny that this is a good idea. However, as many people can attest to how interesting it was way back when we had things like VHS, Sheila finds out something very interesting about Ernie, Greta's husband. Because when she goes home, she decides to watch the tape, and, well, throughout, again, she is constantly having a go at herself, telling herself how shit she is and how fat she is and how much people wouldn't want to listen to a fat blob like her. And again, there's nothing on Roseburn. She's a very fit and well-toned woman. So why she's got this opinion of herself, obviously, why Sheila got this opinion of herself, is a mind-boggling thing when you look at the woman. But again, this battle with bulimia isn't going to be easy. And when she's felt like this for a long time now, it is what it is, unfortunately, and she really needs to get better help than what she's actually doing for herself right now. But she doesn't see it as that. But on this tape that she has basically recorded over, that Ernie had left in his own camcorder, Sheila finds something interesting. Turns out that Ernie has a little bit of a fetish. And that fetish is women shaving their own heads, and then, oddly enough, him turning up on camera and just rubbing their heads. Now, this is the thing that Greta had been worrying about. She thought he was having an affair, and it turns out that, well, he's got certain proclivities, and he is showing them in this video. This was never meant to be seen by anyone, and this is why he is going so crazy over the fact that someone has taken his camcorder. I mean, back in the 80s, you'd have been pissed if someone took your camcorder anyway, but still, there is further reason behind it. But they managed to show Bunny the footage, and Bunny agrees that it's a good idea. She says that now that she can see it, it makes sense to her. And so it looks like Sheila is going to be recording a full-length version of this so that they can distribute it. And of course, that will mean more money for both of them, and hopefully more people come into the classes once they get over their issues with their own body. Danny, however, has ended up getting a TV spot. He's going to be on a debate show, and he's going to be alongside John Bream, who is the man who is currently in charge in town. And so he thinks this is a great thing, and Sheila obviously thinks it's a great thing as well, but his friend Jerry doesn't. His friend Jerry thinks he's going to bottle it, and it's starting to give Danny a few doubts. However, when he gets on the show, he absolutely nails it. He is very good against this guy and basically points out his hypocrisies. And because he does so well, John now knows that he has to come out swinging. And he does so in the form of an ad campaign. We've all seen them, those kind of takedown ad campaigns that are just awful. And they basically don't talk about policies that the person running has. They talk about policies that the person they're running against has, and bringing those people down. It's such a bitchy way to do politics these days, and it's kind of gross that instead of going on what you can do for your country, you're saying about what the other person will do against your country. And it's just sickening, because people want their lives to be better, and all they're getting told is that the other people will do the bad thing. When all that happens is the same fuck knuckles get in and end up ruining a country. For instance, America on the world stage right now isn't exactly doing great, but someone elected that fucker. But anyway, and so now that Danny has been smeared, he's not happy. He tells Sheila that they're going to have to actually do their own ad campaign like she wanted before. But again, I imagine it's going to be another takedown piece instead of here's what we can do for you piece. And especially with Jerry at the helm. But hopefully they take the high road instead of the low road. Episode 6, let's get it on tape. So now that Jerry is all gun-ho about this ad campaign, and of course Danny wants this as well, because, well, the smear campaign that was put out against him he is very offended by, and therefore wants to fight fire with fire. But, of course, they're going to need money for this. Sheila is the one who is in charge of the books, and each time that Jerry keeps asking about whether they've got the capital to do this, Sheila essentially says that they do, knowing full well that she has fucked things up royally for her husband. But for now, she's thinking that she can just muddle by until she actually gets some more money in, and then she can actually pay off all her debts, and her husband never needs to know about this. Of course, the other side of the coin is that she wants to create these workout videos so that people can play them at home. The problem there being is that once again this is going to cost money, and it's something that she doesn't have right now. She's hoping that telling Tyler that he can film the ad campaign is going to be the one thing that will keep him sweet for now. But of course, that's not the only thing that will cost money in this. If they're going to do this properly, she's going to have to hire somewhere, she's going to have film permits, and it's going to be a real issue for her. And so when Tyler tells her that he's actually got an ad space set up and all she needs is $500, well, we know that that's not going to work for her either. However, because she knows that she can go through Danny's campaign ad and get space available for her, she manages to sweet talk John Bream and gets a space available for Danny to film his ad. But before all that can happen, she wants Tyler to actually film her and Bunny doing their routine, and then they can start making copies, and then they can hopefully start printing money. Once again, though, when it comes to distribution, the equipment that Tyler has, well, it's not really up to scratch. It's good for just, your bog standard porn video, but in this case, they want it to be a bit more high end. So every time he makes a recording of the original recording, it's going to lose quality. So Sheila is a little bit stuck right now. If she can pay out for a higher end quality distribution, obviously she's going to end up getting more capital back. But at the minute, that's not going to happen for her. Of course, no one really understands this apart from Sheila. Sheila, however, has been asked by Greta to attend some afternoon tea with some friends of hers. These friends are basically selling makeup tips. This woman is coming around and she's going to be giving them a colour chart each that will help them with their complexion and therefore what kind of makeup to use, and obviously they come to them for the makeup. But of course Greta is really nervous about this and, well, she just wants a friend there to actually help her out. While Sheila's there, she sees an opportunity. This is a room full of women that potentially could be clients. And so when the makeup artist is talking about what's on the outside, Sheila says, what's on your face isn't important. What your body is doing is the important thing about all of this. And so maybe I can show you something. She takes out the video, shows it to the women in the group, and they're all astonished. They absolutely love it and think it's a great idea, and they all purchase a video. And if they can't purchase a video there and then, Sheila says, I've got your information. I will contact you when it's ready. So she's starting to feel that bit of worth now. Now that she's actually been able to sell some of these videos and see that she can make some money out of this, she's happy to continue down this road. But again, they need a bigger distribution company because, well, 2 or 3 videos here and there isn't going to butter any parsnips, really. However, Greta ends up confronting Sheila about what happened with the video camera. They've been looking all over for it, and now her husband has a newer video camera. But it's not the same. He's still looking for that elusive tape that went missing. Of course, he's ended up firing the nanny for this, but Greta feels that it wasn't her at all, and that she would have never done anything like this, and then she finds out that Sheila has been filming these videos, and now she is suspectful of her. She confronts Sheila about it, and Sheila says, look, the reason I didn't tell you anything about this is because, well, just go and watch this video. She hands her a private video that her husband Ernie had been actually filming, about the fetish that he has where he rubs women's heads once they've shaven it, and kind of gives Greta the answers that she has been looking for all along when it comes to her husband cheating. When Sheila gets home that night, both Danny and Jerry are watching the video that's been made for them, the campaign ad. They both think it's absolutely incredible and they really want to be able to distribute this more and more and further. However, that is once again going to be more money that Sheila knows that they don't have. But when she's confronted by Jerry about this and he says, well, I've seen your notes, I know how much we've actually got in the bank, so don't be giving us that whole, we haven't got enough money to do this yet, I know how much money you've got. It's written down here, and hands her a notebook that she's been keeping on her at all times, just trying to track where her money's gone. And of course now she knows that potentially Jerry is onto her, and therefore at some point Danny's going to find out. Episode 7, let's take this show on the road. So as I said before, Sheila and Danny are now having real financial troubles when it comes to funding this campaign. Again, Danny doesn't know about this because Sheila has kept him in the dark about everything that's been going on. Her bulimia has got so out of control that she was eating probably $20 to $30 worth of burgers each day and then throwing them back up again while renting a hotel for the afternoon, or at least by the hour. And so all of their savings are gone. He's now trying to fund his campaign to get into government and, well, doesn't know that his wife spent all the money. Of course, now Danny is running his ad and Sheila gets a phone call about the check that she's written for this TV station. And it turns out that, well, it's bounced, because of course it has. She only has like $100 worth of cash in her account, if not less. She knows that the only thing that she can do is probably speak to Jack and Tanya. But after finding out that Tanya was pregnant, it's going to take all that she can muster to actually go. Of course, these two are kind of insufferable, but she knows that if they end up going to see them in LA, they could probably raise a lot more money a lot easier than if they stay in San Diego where they currently are. So it's just going to be a mess. Of course, getting out to LA from San Diego isn't going to be cheap. I know they're in the same state and I know they're not far from each other, but still gas prices, still all that kind of stuff going down there, babysitters, it's going to be a pain. And of course now she doesn't have to just think about her and Danny, she has to think about Jerry, who will be probably staying at their home, and Tyler and Bunny, who are now her business partners. She has to basically tell them that she's going to be away for a few days while she tries to help her husband with his campaign. And of course once they get down to LA, it feels like, for Sheila and probably Danny, that Jack and Tanya are just rubbing it in their faces that they're having a child and that they've got this beautiful house and that they can pretty much do what they want. With the fact that Sheila and Danny are struggling so much right now, it's a stark contrast between the two of them. But they've been very frank about what they need from them. They're going to come up there and hopefully they will be able to introduce them to people who will be able to give them a bit of money so that they can continue this campaign. But with the fact that Jerry is now left at their home, this is going to cause more issues for Sheila because, well, it's the 80s. People aren't calling mobiles to get answers for stuff. They're calling the house. And of course, when they call the house, they get in touch with Jerry. Jerry doesn't know the fact that they haven't been able to pay for the advertising that Danny has been doing. And so now he believes that it's because of their rival paying them more money to keep them off the air. He hasn't managed to work out yet that Sheila just doesn't have any money anymore, because Danny is so convinced that they've got money in the bank. And so Jerry now is worried about losing this campaign because of underhand tactics, even though there is no underhand tactics whatsoever. However, when it comes to the party, there is a lot of people that turn up, and every time either Sheila or Danny try to take it towards politics and their campaign and what they're trying to do in their local area, they keep getting shut down by Jack and Tanya. It would seem that they don't want their friends panhandled too. They don't want Sheila and Danny trying to raise any type of money. Yes, they can talk about politics, but, well, they don't want them fleecing their own friends. So this is highly frustrating for Sheila now. And of course, what happens when she gets frustrated? She ends up taking it out on her own body. Again, she tells herself that she's fat and that she's useless and that she's fucked everything up, and she ends up running out of the house, jumping in the car, and finding some sort of food in the glove compartment. She scoffs it down quickly while telling herself how much of a piece of shit she is, and then, well, she drives off. We can only assume that she's going to be going over to some fast food joint to pick up some burgers and probably a motel to eat them and then throw them up again. That seems to be the pattern with her, but this time she doesn't do that. Just before the end of the episode, we see her knocking on a door to a huge mansion, and behind the door is her mother. It seems there's always been tension between the two of them, and, well, we can see that the tension's still there even all these years on. As for Greta in this particular episode, it turns out that actually this video that she's been given by Sheila has turned into a bit of a revelation for her. We see at one point she actually starts watching it, knowing that her husband gets turned on by this, and she seems to get turned on by it as well. She starts masturbating while watching this video, and then towards the end of the episode we actually see her with a pair of clippers. And so we can only assume that she is taking it upon herself to get into this kink for her own husband. However, she hasn't actually talked to him about this yet, as far as we're aware. And so changing her whole hairdo for this guy is just ridiculous. And depending on how it actually comes up, may end up shaming him more than helping him. And that could be a worry for her, or at least should be a worry for her, because she should actually be sitting down with her husband and talking about this, and not just changing things on a whim. Okay, so far this season's been going really well. I think Sheila is really showing how much of a struggle it is to hide all of these things that are going on in her life. There's the bulimia, there is the lack of money, and now there is the fact that she is filming these videos so that she can actually be able to pay for her husband's campaign, or at least pay the money back into her own account that she has stolen or pilfered from her husband. The problem is that what's going on now is it seems that because she's robbing Peter to pay Paul, she is essentially taking money out of the account for the campaign and putting it in her own account to only then have to repay it out, which surely is embezzlement. And so that is going to be an interesting factor to come up later on. Now, obviously it's the 80s and things may have been a bit more stringent back then, but I can't imagine that they would be. And so it's going to be a really interesting final 3 episodes of this season when we find out what's going to happen. We know that she's going to have to come clean to her husband at some point about what she's been doing, and it feels like Jerry is going to be the one that's going to uncover this. Right now, Sheila is kind of getting away with it because nobody's looking hard enough at her. They think that she's the one who's got it all together because, well, for so long she's had to be. And now we've actually realised that she's been this way for quite a long time. In fact, it's brought up in one of the episodes that she meets someone who knew her from her past and says, well, we taught her this trick where you basically, as a ballet dancer, you stick your fingers down your throat and throw up. And that's what kept us so skinny back then. But now I can't believe that she's as skinny as she is still. And nobody's put together that Sheila is mentally ill and is taking it out on her own body, but of course now it's going to cause further and further problems. And yes, the outlet that she's now got with the dancing is going to be a much healthier outlet for her, but you've still got to worry about what's coming. Because when she is confronted with the fact that she used to do this as a ballet dancer, and that people knew about it back then, you can see how crazy it makes her, how angry it makes her at the whole situation. That she's still doing this. She even calls it a stupid teenage thing, and yet she's still doing it at probably mid-30s. So hopefully the embarrassment for her isn't too much, and she can finally confess what's happened to her and they can move on. But like I've said, there may be legal issues here because the campaign money that she's taken in from these investors is basically paying off her bills. And yes, then it's having to come back out again because they're literally, like I said, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes next. And of course, this whole Greta storyline is just bizarre. But, you know, people have their own kinks. And that's okay. As long as it's not hurting anybody or it's all consensual, then why not? But anyway, I'm done for today. And Yeah, I cannot wait to get back into the last 3 episodes of this. And then, of course, we've got more Bates Motel to come next, and then Physical the week after that, and then we're going to be hitting 3 new series from me. But anyway, I'm done for today. So, thank you for being here, thank you for listening, subscribing, liking, all that good shit. It really means the world. But until next time, I will speak to you soon. Bye. As always, thank you for listening to this podcast, and you could really help me and the podcast by giving a like, share, subscribe on all major platforms that you listen to podcasts on. As an independent podcaster, this will just help me exponentially when it comes to actually doing more things with this podcast. I truly do enjoy this, and I absolutely love revisiting these TV shows with you guys. So any engagement from you is always welcome, and I will try and listen to all of you when you give suggestions or just tell me what you think about the podcast. But once again, thank you for listening, and until next time, I will speak to you soon. Bye.